Nihilus? Yeah. That's all my Star Wars figures. So what do you think about that, Taylor? Yeah, I got sassed tonight. I ain't scared of you. I ain't scared of you because it's Star Wars. This is the way. This is the way. Why aren't you guys talking?
Because we don't know what kind of accent that
Because
is.
we've been live for 15 seconds.
Yeah, what accent was that?
I didn't know we were live. I didn't know I was going to be on the spot to do an accent, okay? Jeez. This is awkward.
Yeah, this is OmniDog from OmniDog's Vault. With my two buddies, Taylor and Tyler, also known as the Minister of Comics and T-Bone. And we are live for a Star Wars discussion. Tyler has a special sign.
How long did that take you, Tyler?
The time isn't important. The results are what's important, okay?
I've never seen that sign before. Do you?
I got it for your show, dude.
Oh,
This
I
is
need to get something like that. That's cool.
I know. I got it all for you, man.
So whenever you and Jess do a TMNT review next week, you'll have that on there for it, right? TMNT.
Well, first of all, that's a very ambitious statement. But yeah, sure. Let's go with that. Next week, when we do a TMNT review, it's going to say TMNT.
The next time you do a TMNT review, whatever month that is, or whatever year that is.
Yeah, that sounds more likely. That sounds much more likely.
But all that matters is that you're here. You're finally here.
What do you mean finally here? That was
After one rescheduling, you're finally here.
Yeah.
To talk about everyone's favorite thing.
Me?
The Winter of Star Wars.
Oh, Winter of Star Wars.
Wow, Jess, geez, awkward much. I mean, it is your channel, but no one
yeah.
about the Winter of Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know who else has a channel that's back alive again, back from the dead?
Yeah, he does. But I hope you're going to say me or it's going to be awkward.
I wasn't going to say you, but I guess we will.
All right, it's me, Super Squad D. Yep, I resurrected my channel from the dead. I posted my first video, which was a toy hunt vlog. And I got a few upcoming videos. Can you believe it?
I think it's great.
You mislabeled it. You should have called it Risking the Biscuit.
Dude, that's absolutely going to be the name of the toy hunting vlog series, Risking the Biscuit. Because
you found a couple of Transformer figures for me, right?
Yeah, I did. Found all those, except you didn't want the versions that I found because you had another friend get you that figure.
What? What
the
figure?
Bumblebee. The Bumblebee you're holding.
Oh yeah. I asked you for two different figures.
Oh, I got those, my friend. I got some for you.
T-Bone is hyped to the max.
Well, let's get this party started, fellas.
Holy smoke. So
this is the way.
Tyler this was Tyler's idea, first of all, for the three of us to read a bunch of Star Wars books from Marvel, the recent books that have come out since the Disney acquisition. He called it Winter of Star Wars. The video was his idea, and it was supposed to be 2 weeks ago, and he canceled.
But the good news is it's still winter. It's still winter.
And I'm not even done with my story. So he canceled on us, and so we had a bet that it wouldn't happen, that he would never show up. And before he had a chance to blow us off last week, was it last week or the week before?
It was 2 weeks ago.
Taylor had a great idea to, the night before we were supposed to go, to get Tyler to think that we were doing it that night. It was Thursday night, and we texted him and said, "Where are you? The show's on. We're ready to roll." And so Tyler rushes around, and I put up this banner.
It's harder to see.
Whoop. Wait a minute.
There we go. You can see it perfectly now. It says "gotcha" basically.
Yeah, wait. Why is it not working? It says "gotcha." Oh. There I am.
There you go.
It says "gotcha," and Tyler looked at it and was so distraught, and his face just dropped.
Yeah.
And I wish I had it because I wish I had a video of his face going from excited to punked.
It was my idea. I didn't even get to see his reaction.
I did send you a picture of how he was looking.
It's not the same as him looking, upset on a video. Like I've seen videos of him and Ryan getting upset with each other playing.
That's Ryan.
Rainbow Six, and hearing Tyler scream is the funniest thing ever. So.
What videos are you watching? Who's giving you these videos?
Ryan Sace has been sending us some great videos of you guys playing Rainbow Six.
What a punk that guy is. What a punk. Little Brit. Hugo has the best comment of the night. Can't imagine anybody topping it, which is that I am clearly a Sith Lord and the Minister of Comics is Master Jess's Padawan.
No, I definitely have to be the Sith Lord because I'm the one who's darker out of the two of us because Tyler doesn't like anything remotely dark. He asked me yesterday, should I buy the 100 bullets omnibus? I said, under no circumstances should Tyler Blount buy 100 bullets or read it because he would hate it.
Yeah, he did say that. That's true. Conversation that we had.
On the scale of light to dark, I'm on the dark side with like Men of Wrath. Jess is in the middle, and Tyler's over there with Power Rangers.
That's true.
That's 100% true.
And Ninja Turtles. Don't exaggerate. And
now G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe.
Jess told me yesterday if he gets into collecting G.I. Joes, it's time for me to set up an intervention for him.
That's true. You have my permission.
All right, sounds good. We'll just have like an intervention chat or something.
I love it.
Intervention show.
Love it.
I probably shouldn't have Tyler come to that though, because he'll be working against me.
Yeah, that's true. I'll show up to your action figure intervention, Jess. Jess, we love you and care about you. We want you to buy more action figures. Wait, that's not why we're here? No? We're not telling him to buy more? Oh, okay. That's my bad. That's how my part in the intervention will go. On your side.
One thing I wanted to hear about before we start talking about books is just talking about the first time you guys ever experienced any Star Wars, whether it's any movie, it could be anything. Tell us your first memory of Star Wars. Jess, why don't you start since it went way back for you and not as much for us?
Yeah, I believe it was before the summer of '77. I feel like it was April of '77 when it came out, springish. And I saw the first one. It was just called Star Wars, and I saw it in movie theaters. And the theater was packed. It swept the nation. Everybody was going to see this movie. I don't remember what the box office was. I'm sure some nerd in the chat can quote what the box office was for that year alone. But I mean, that thing was in theaters all summer long and into the fall, and it was packed all the time. And I loved it from the very first time I saw it. I saw the first one. I don't know how many times I saw the first one. But I was 18 and I saw it a ton. And then when the next one came out 3 years later, and there was no internet, so there was no Star Wars chat club or something. You were just left in the dark for 3 years.
Do you remember that? Do you remember the Empire Strikes Back trailer where Harrison Ford does the narration, the voiceover on it?
Yeah. But the thing I remember most is that it said episode 5, and everybody was going, "What? Episode 5? How many episodes are there going to be? And where's 1, 2, and 3? How far is this going to go?" And that's when later that year, George Lucas came out and said his idea was to have 9 movies, the beginnings of Darth Vader, and then what happens to everybody afterwards. And so that was the big surprise in Empire Strikes Back. I mean, just the beginning where it says episode 5. And then, of course, the end of Empire Strikes Back never got spoiled for me. So I was genuinely shocked.
That's amazing. Because, see, that was back before the internet. So, like, you couldn't just go online and be like, what? Where is Luke's? Are you freaking kidding me? You just went to the theater.
Nobody on set knew besides Luke, Mark Hamill, the director, the screenwriter, and that's pretty much it. Nobody else knew. Even at Mark Hamill tells the story that they were at the premiere And whenever that moment happens, Harrison Ford turned around and said, "Hey, kid, you didn't tell me that." Like he had no idea that was going to happen. So it was actually a really well kept secret.
And nobody, I purposely avoided any newspaper reviews, just because I wanted to go in fresh. But it's possible that there were newspaper reviews that revealed the secret, but nobody was a jerk and told me about it. So I was able to be completely surprised by it. And that's the most shocked I've ever been in a movie.
Yeah, tell me about what the time was like between when you saw that movie and Return of the Jedi came out.
It was more agonizing between Return of the Jedi. I mean, yeah. Between Empire and Return of the Jedi was 3 years. It was agonizing. It came out, and I mean, you had to wait 3 years for this. After the big reveal, I'm talking about it like nobody knows what it is, but after the big reveal, you were just like, I have to wait 3 years to find out what happens next.
The only thing I could even equate that to in my lifetime, which was maybe it's in my top 5 single greatest film viewing moments, was at the end of Infinity War. And that was not even close to the same level because the movie was a year away and because anybody who had any sense knew, well, Spider-Man's not going to be dead permanently. Like, he's going to come back. But being in the theater, literally the people to my right and then the people I was with to my left, all were crying. They were all literally crying.
The comic nerds were like, I knew it.
Right. Like all of us. There was a lady who was next to me when Black Panther died that literally started sobbing. Like just absolutely lost it. And it was a surreal moment for me in the theater that you just can't get without being with people in a theater. And I've thought many times about how the only other time in cinema history that I could think of where it would top that would be Empire Strikes Back because it's so shocking. And then you have such a long period to wait.
The other flip side of that was I remember seeing Avengers Endgame at the end when all the portals open up, and I never heard people cheer that much in a movie in my entire life. Everyone was clapping, everyone was screaming. Usually in a movie when people are loud and distracting, you get mad. But in that moment, we were all like in it together and like all like experienced that moment, which is why I do miss movie theaters. I know Jess isn't a huge fan of movie theaters, but I do love that communal aspect of movies, especially comedies. Because whenever watching a comedy by yourself isn't the same as watching with a bunch of people. You definitely laugh harder when a bunch of people are with you. And I felt that way with Avengers Endgame when that moment happened. I feel like it was a much richer experience.
When Cap picked up the hammer, I literally stood up and yelled out loud in the theater. Literally, no lie. I know it's hard for you to believe that I would do something like that. I know it's shocking to everybody.
Even him calling down lightning doesn't really make sense, but it was so awesome. I don't even care.
Who cares? Who cares? That he knows how to use it like awesomely the second he picks it up. Who cares?
He can use it better than Thor himself, but who cares? Whatever.
This is fine. Okay, it was an awesome moment. Well, that's interesting about your Star Wars experience. What about you, Taylor?
I think we kind of have a similar experience, Tyler. Maybe I think we talked about this off air that the special editions were re-released in theaters. Well, I guess released for the first time. The updated version is 1997. And so I saw them in theaters once they were released. That was the first time I ever saw it. And then they immediately put out that VHS box set, that gold box set.
Yeah.
And I watched that. I must have watched A New Hope at least 25 times that summer when it came out. I was watching it day after day after day. And that's always the Star Wars movie that speaks to me the most. Even though I admit that The Empire Strikes Back is a better film, whenever I think of Star Wars, I think of A New Hope. I think of the trench run. I think of Han Solo running into that group of stormtroopers, shooting one and running away. All the Star Wars moments I really think about are from that movie. And so for a Star Wars movie or a Star Wars show to be excellent for me, it has to bring out that nostalgia feeling of me as a 7-year-old in that theater watching it for the first time, which Mandalorian has done for me in spades.
Yeah, that's so interesting because my experience was similar but not the same in that I didn't get to see it in theaters. So the first time I saw it was on that VHS, that gold tape VHS, which now I'm glad that I hung on to. I feel like I should have put it in my office as like a cool like relic and memorabilia, even though it's not super old, but I guess it's 20-something years old now. But I remember watching all through the Star Wars as a kid, and I remember being like, "What? Luke, Vader? Oh, okay, let's put in the next VHS." And then it was just like instant. There was no gap. There was no, and I may have even known about it beforehand because I don't remember being that shocked about it. But for me, this kind of segues into a little bit of a question that I wanted to ask you guys before we jump in the books, which is, what do you think of what moment from Star Wars do you think of when you hear the word Star Wars? Because for me, like you mentioned, Taylor, that it was A New Hope. For me, it's actually Return of the Jedi, because that was the film that I rewatched more than any other film. As a kid, I didn't even know that people like hated the Ewoks. Like, it never even registered with me that people wouldn't have liked the Ewoks. I was a kid and they were just another alien race. But for me, that throne room scene, Luke confronting Jabba, Luke like fighting on the sandbars, those are the moments that I get the nostalgic hit of dopamine from when I think about Star Wars. That's what rushes back to me. The moment of Vader dying and Luke holding him and seeing Luke with his eyes for the first time. Like, all of those things are what I think of when I think of Star Wars. What about you, Jess? What do you think?
Was your first dance song Yub Nub at your wedding?
That was actually, I performed that a cappella.
Which they have taken out of the new versions on Disney Plus. It's not Yub Nub anymore.
It's at the same time, which is so beyond stupid.
What is it called? What do they sing?
It's just like I forget what the new song is, but they have a bunch of scenes from like Coruscant, Naboo, Mos Eisley, of people celebrating the Empire being destroyed. Because back in the day, it was just them celebrating on Endor.
Yeah.
And so they have like more stuff going on, and they added in Hayden Christensen's Force Ghost instead of the original actor's Force Ghost.
Which I kind of like that, actually.
Jeff does not like that.
But that is ridiculous. I don't know that you guys have actually ever seen the original 3.
I never have.
I want the despecialized version.
Okay, so you've never actually seen it as I saw it growing up.
I know Jess can hook us up with that, because I think
I'm waiting for the 4K though. I want the 4K despecialized.
Okay.
Okay. Well, they have that for the first 2.
Oh, really? Look me up, man. I need them.
Okay.
Because there are things about the special editions I love, like the Cloud City parts. It looks so much better. I've watched the original footage. It fills out the world. The Empire Strikes Back is probably the best version of the special editions. A New Hope wrecked a lot of different scenes.
Awful.
Because they put Jabba in as a CGI creature, and the CGI in 1997 wasn't very good, and even the updated in 2011 or so was also horrible. That scene wasn't in the original Star Wars movie. I think it should be totally scrubbed, because it has the same exact beats as the Greedo scene, which they also messed with.
They did
the Greedo scene. You guys never saw the original Greedo scene.
Now they shoot at this. This irks me, because this is like, I actually think in general being PC is actually a very good thing. But this would be one of those rare moments where I'm like, can we not just have Han shoot first? Like, it was Han shot first. Then it was like, oh no, that makes Han a bad guy. So then Greedo shot first. And they're like, well, people don't like that. Let's just have them shoot at the same time. They're equally bad.
Have it as it was.
And it looks so awkward. Like, they like do this like editing trick where Harrison Ford goes like this, and the laser bolt hits him. It's like, it looks so stupid.
Really?
Now they add in the McClunky that Greedo says before he dies.
No,
it's so dumb. Which they
and that's what the guy. That's what the guy says at the end of Mandalorian.
Right. It means this shall be the end of you.
He says McClunky too.
Yeah, it means this shall be the end of you, and I think it's in Huttese or whatever language Greedo speaks. And so I think they used that line to make fun of that. To be honest,
they definitely. Yeah. Well, they also edited some weird things in A New Hope. Like, you remember the scene where R2-D2 is going to find Ben Kenobi, and they get ambushed by the sand people. Well, like, R2 goes and hides in the cave, and they just put like a giant rock in front of him. But like, why? Like, nobody was upset over the fact that like maybe they could have seen him in the cave. I don't know. It was just weird that they went back and added some random CG stuff. I don't know.
Well, let's bring up the whole debate of should directors go back and monkey with their movies after the fact.
Yeah,
that's a whole other debate.
That's a tangent for Tangent Tuesday, the next Tangent Tuesday, but not for this one. Tell me about your
There's only a discussion that could happen now. because back then it just was. And
Yeah.
you saw it and you either liked it or you didn't, or lukewarm, whatever it was on the scale, and you walked away. And now, because of the internet, everybody's a director, everybody's an actor, everybody's a critic, and they all pick apart everything. And it's not enough that you like the movie. It's fashionable to either hate a part of the movie, or it's fashionable to rip something down that everybody likes, or whatever. And back then, you just experienced the movie and went on with your life. And that's why I think the internet is such a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Because it provides everybody with information, but everybody gets a voice, and not every voice needs to be heard.
Not The Last Jedi.
Every voice matters. Like,
I mean, I don't look at any sites for anything except the Omnibus group on Facebook, anyway, or the internet. I'm not on Twitter, and I don't care about somebody saying anything is specifically bad or demonstrably bad, because all it is their opinion. It's not a fact. There are no facts. They're just opinions. Yeah. And people say their opinions like they're facts, and they're not.
Well, just to take it from a different angle and a different perspective, and I agree with everything you just said, I'm in no way an artist or a director, but as a hobby, I do like to draw, and I do like to make short films, vlogs, and YouTube videos. And as somebody who does enjoy that creative process, I can tell you that there's almost never a point in which I feel completely satisfied with something I've worked on. And I will watch stuff now and go, oh, geez, I wish I could change 5 things about this video I made, or this short film that I made, or this drawing. And if it's a digital drawing, I go update it. If it's a physical drawing, I'll do a little more than I drew it 6 years ago. There's something that is, I don't know if it's all creative people or all creators, that is just like weird, that you always want to monkey with the things that you've made. But having the ability to do that, and then having the internet like demand things, all of that, I could see why people would be inclined to do it. Like, I can see why George would be inclined to go, oh, what if we added this, or what if we changed this, or I want to do this differently. But please just leave it as it was.
Here's the thing. Once it's put out, it no longer just belongs to the creator. It belongs to everybody in a way. So by monkeying with it, you're kind of monkeying with people's memories of it too, and the nostalgia you have wrapped up in it. So Jess kind of seeing the special editions, he's like, that's not what I saw when I was younger.
Yeah.
It's totally different than what I saw in different ways. And so it's not just like the creators, it's like something that we all share in.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I don't think the additions enrich the experience at all.
No.
Except for, you said Cloud City was benefited from it. I don't remember the special editions that well. I mean, you guys saw the special editions way more than I did. I saw them once and I said, those suck. I don't ever want to see them again. And those are all you've seen. So I don't want to be too harsh on them, because those are your Star Wars. But compared to the things that I saw, I didn't care for the monkeying around. But I understand from an artist's perspective, because I took a lot of art classes and have sold a lot of my own art in an earlier part of my life, where I understand you want to keep going back to it and touch it up. And you're like, when is it ever finished? And is it any good? And if somebody likes it, that's great. But wait, I'm not done. A good artist knows when to walk away.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Well, they always say, I forget who said it, that no work is ever finished. It's just merely abandoned. Like, you have to give up on it at some point and be like, I can't do it anymore. Like, it's never complete. You're never going to have it be perfect. There is, we can say there's certain movies that are perfect, but no movie really is perfect. There's always something, there's a continuity error, there's a plot hole, there's something, a visual error. There's going to be something wrong with it, but that kind of gives it its sense of specialness at the same time. It reflects who you were at that time. And I love seeing directors and I love seeing writers change throughout the years, and how those specific works reflect who they were back then.
all that being said, I agree with everything we're saying, but so help me, Lord. If they will go back and redo The Rise of Skywalker, I'm 100% in.
I'm totally for that.
Skywalker, I'd be all about tamper with it. Please, just
for the sake of Jess's daughter, please do that.
Yeah.
Please, guys, please. So
Jess had to beg his daughter to watch Mandalorian season 2.
Yeah, and now she loves it. But yeah, episode 9 so traumatized her, and Star Wars was a thing that she grew up with. So episode 9 really traumatized her, mostly because, I mean, she got sucked in because she had a crush on Kylo Ren, which I'm not going to say anything about because of my crush. So that's fine if you like Star Wars for Kylo Ren. Whatever gets you into the movie, that's cool. But she, as Taylor said, she was completely traumatized by episode 9, and I had to almost force her to watch The Mandalorian, which, of course, she loved, and called me as soon as the last scene was over, and I started crying again. And
don't say anything bad about The Mandalorian in the chat because Jess doesn't want to hear it. Jess doesn't want to read it.
What?
I said, and nobody give any Mandalorian hate in the chat because Jess doesn't want to hear it.
No, I don't care.
Oh, okay.
I don't care what the chat thinks. I'm not going to go read any criticism of it because it doesn't add anything to my experience.
Yeah.
I loved it, and that's enough for me. I walk away afterwards and I say, that was awesome. And if somebody didn't like it and wrote up about it, Sherlock, then that's fine. I'm not reading it, though. I'm not reading any criticism of WandaVision either because I'm enjoying it. I don't
let Tyler tell you his review.
Yeah, I don't want to know your review. I'm enjoying it, and I'm enjoying seeing the mystery unfold, and I have the patience for it to watch the mystery unfold in WandaVision.
Personal attack, but that's okay. That's fine. Patience, yeah. I get what you're saying. No, I want everybody. Here's kind of what I don't understand about people, right? If there's something you really don't like, but someone else likes it, don't you want them to like it? Like, just because you don't like it, isn't it better to like things than not like things? And if somebody else likes something that you don't like, isn't that just good for them?
For some people, it's like misery loves company. People hated something, so they want other people to hate it, so they feel justified in hating it. I think that's what it is.
And they have
to enjoy something.
They have their opinion, and they won't be shaken from it. They can't be happy for other people.
I don't get that. Like,
yeah, well, we don't get that because the three of us aren't that way. We're like, that's what this channel is about positivity in well, right now it's pop culture, but it will be about Star Wars comics in a few hours. But I would never go on somebody's post that somebody posted something the other day about this book is awesome and I loved it for the following reasons, and I couldn't stand that book. I didn't put my opinion in on that. Like, I didn't like this book. It didn't do it for me. Why would I do that? And
there's been times where on our review shows, Jess, that I've given books a bad review, but I don't enjoy doing that. I had to be honest, but I never once relished the fact I got to tear something apart. I hate reading bad stuff. I don't want to read bad things. I don't want to watch bad movies. I want to enjoy stuff. I go into things wanting to enjoy it and giving it a chance, and when it's bad, it bums me out.
And I think at the end of the day, I think all of us are just happy. Even if we don't like something, I'm happy that somebody else does. Like, if I think something is objectively bad, but someone else likes it, that's awesome. I would never want them to hate it too, because then it's just two people who aren't having fun. Like, I want them to have fun. I don't know.
So you're okay with my having fun with Bendis Superman?
That's the one thing he's not okay with.
Liar.
Yes, you're pushing my buttons tonight.
And Tyler, I'm perfectly okay with you thinking Elektra is the best superhero movie ever made.
Thank you. It is. And Hush is the best Batman story. So let me take you guys on a journey before we get in these Star Wars books. That happened to me 2 nights ago at Walmart. Okay. So I went to look for some action figures at Walmart. All right. You guys know.
For the 20th time in the past
I'm an action figure hunter, okay?
Tyler has gotten way into action figures again, thanks to yours truly.
That's a fact. Jess, this is all your fault.
We're working on the minister.
Well,
okay.
Do you see Tyler's office? Do you know who convinced him to do that? This guy. So me and Jess have both been a big influence in.
It's okay because Jess splits all of his ad revenue from the videos that I'm on with me, and it well covers all of this.
Apparently, I'm the only one who doesn't get that. So,
just kidding.
I will send you your check for 35 cents tomorrow.
It's like whenever Jerry gets all those checks for the science show in Japan.
I've got 18 checks for 37 cents a piece. I'm just waiting to add up to be $5. So I can
and Jerry gets carpal tunnel from signing all the really small checks.
Okay, so I went to Walmart to see what they had because about 5 days ago, I went to Walmart and they had all these boxes all over the floor, like in the aisles, and their new product that hasn't been opened. And I kind of tried to like peek around and see what I could find. Couldn't find anything really, but I didn't stay for long. Well, I was like, dang it, I'm going to go because I bet you they have stocked the shelves. I was giving Walmart employees way too much credit. So when I got there, there was nothing that was out of these boxes. So I was like, you know what? I came all this way. I'm going to search these boxes. So I'm looking, and I spent probably 15 minutes looking just at like the sides of the boxes because you can see on there, it'll say like, Barbies, 6-pack, Ken loves Barbie or something like that. So you can tell what's in the box without opening it. And right in front of the box rack, the bike rack, there's a giant stack of boxes. And I look down and I see a Star Wars box. It says Star Wars 6-inch figures. And my mind immediately starts racing. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. Because there's an Ahsoka figure that's like $50 on eBay that I really want.
Yeah.
So Clone Wars, it's a Walmart exclusive Clone Wars figure. And I'm like, this is my moment. This is going to be it. Like, I'm going to find it. I'm going to be so excited. What if I find what if I find 5 figures? This is amazing. This is going to be the best thing ever. There's like an Anakin Skywalker from episode 3 that's really hard to find. I'm like, dude, this is going to be great. I don't have any of these figures.
Infinite possibilities or infinite disappointments.
So I start to slowly slide out the box. And this is like a master Jenga because these boxes are stacked super high. I'm being so careful all the while looking, left and right because I'm like, oh gosh, what if an employee sees me? Like, I know I'm not supposed to be doing this. These aren't even, like, this isn't even right. Like, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm doing it anyway. So I'm sliding it out. I pull the box out. Right when I do, the entire box pile collapses. I fall down into the bike rack and knock the bikes over. I'm panicked at this point. I'm like completely panicked. I'm like, what do I do? So I'm looking around, laying on the floor. I'm like, and I'm like, you know what? No, get it together, man. You've come this far. Open the box. So I'm laying on the floor in a pile of boxes, all these bikes that are knocked over. And I'm like,
was that your rock bottom moment where you realized you've gone too far?
No. You'll know my rock bottom moment. So I'm looking at the box and I think I should pull out my car keys to slice it open. I'm like, but there's not time. So I start chipping away and I can't actually like grip, when there's like tape on a box, you just can't get a little bit to pull. So then I just start punching the box to make a hole and I get a little tiny hole and I rip the box open. My heart's racing 90 miles an hour because I'm so excited about the prospect of what I might find. And I open up the box laying on the floor and this is what I see. An entire box full of freaking Jar Jar Binks.
Wait, show it again.
Oh,
you bought it. Why'd you buy it?
Because I'm laying on the floor thinking about how I'm going to get banned from Walmart for life for rifling through their stuff. And I'm like, I am not leaving without my Star Wars figure. So I bought it completely on principle. Freaking Jar Jar Binks.
I know it has nothing to do with Star Wars, but tell the story about what happened the other day at Walmart with your theft.
I was on the phone with you at this time, right?
Yeah, Jess was actually on the phone with me. This is a Target.
Okay.
Yesterday, I went to Target. Like a fool, I got into G.I. Joes. And I say fool because I'm a completionist and I'm a collector. And that's a bad combination when there is a line of figures that are exclusive to one store. It's a nightmare. And so I got into G.I. Joes. I'm like, oh, yeah, I casually like Snake Eyes. That's a cool character. I even stopped and took this picture of Snake Eyes with like my actual like DSLR camera because I thought Snake Eyes looked so cool. Let's see if I can hold that up there. I took that. It's an action figure photo of Snake Eyes. So I'm like, look, I got to get more G.I. Joe.
You made that action figure photo, right?
Yeah, I took that photo.
Yeah, hold it up again so people can appreciate it.
I was extremely proud of it.
Yeah, Tyler staged this photo. It's really cool.
Fire in the background and all that stuff. So I'm like, I'm gonna get some GI Joes. Well, one of my friends tells me like, dude, you're never gonna find these at Target. They're super hard to find. They're exclusive. It's a nightmare. Everybody hates it. So I'm like, okay, sure. So I go to Target and I went one day and someone was super helpful. Then I went, this is yesterday. I think it was yesterday. And I went and I walked to the back and I said, hey man, y'all got any GI Joes? The guy stocking the counter. It's like a 2-tiered dolly that he's like stocking shelves with. And he doesn't even look at me. And he just goes, no, we ain't got any GI Joes. You think those things stay here more than a day? They've been long gone. Super rude. What a jerk. I'm like, okay, sorry to bother you, sir. Like super cool. My bad. Don't kill me. So I go to the Transformer aisle. They had some Transformers. I'm like, this is great. So I buy the Transformers and I leave. On my way out, I thought, you know what? Jess or somebody else might want this Transformer. So I'll call Jess if he wants it. And Jess was like, yeah, I'll take it for sure. So I walked to my car, put the Transformers in that I just checked out, walked back. By the time I got back to the action figure aisle, the Transformer was already sold out. The one that I was going to give for Jess was already sold out. So as I'm leaving, I walk by the guy who was a jerk, and we make brief eye contact, and then he walks down an aisle. And as he turns his back to me, I look down at his cart where he's stocking shelves, and there's one thing. A $150 value GI Joe for $20. That little mother flipper lied to my face and said they didn't have any GI Joes, and he had one for himself. So in that split second, I did the only reasonable thing I could think of. I grabbed the figure and ran. I took off towards the door. I mean, I was not actually running as fast as I could, but I was huffing it. Jess on the phone, man. I'm out of breath. I'm like, I can't gotta make it to the door, because once I make it out the door, that figure's mine.
You paid for it though.
I paid for it. I didn't steal it.
Well, yeah, you need to put that in, that you stopped at the self-checkout. And
I went to the self-checkout because I'm like, the second that I'm out the door and pay for this figure, it's mine. And I have laughed multiple times thinking about that guy who I can only assume was going to buy the figure to flip it and lied to my face to tell me they didn't have one. As he walked back to the cart and saw his empty cart, the Target employee who's like, I know.
But everyone, do not tout Tyler as a hero because he stole from that flipper so he could flip it himself.
I'm keeping this thing. What do you mean? It's in my closet right now, dude. G.I. Joe.
I don't know. I don't know about this, Tyler.
He's keeping it.
I don't know.
I think he's keeping it.
I'm not sure about this one.
I mean, if the value gets to $300, a man is always
just as likely that Tyler's going to flip that as it's likely that he's going to buy all the McFarlane figures, which is going to happen.
Nah.
He's going to break down at this point. He's going to break down at some point.
There's no way. I'm a strong-willed man. There's no way.
Yes. With how much he's going to Walmart and Target right now, he can't resist for that long.
I have seen a lot of cool McFarlane figures. I saw McFarlane Flash. That really.
Yeah, because you're not just seeing them on Big Bad Toy Store. You're seeing them in person. So you're seeing how fantastic they actually are.
They do look good, my friend. They do look good.
I like the comment that Rick Nelson had earlier. He said, we can all love what we love, but it's the only book you can criticize is Batman Year 2 and Omar. No justification needed.
Oh, man.
And then a lot of people said, I love Batman Year 2. I sort of disagree with Comic Bound here. It's fine for people to love any of the films that they want, as long as you don't think that you loving it automatically means that it's good. Good is subjective. If I think a movie's good, it's good to me. Just because you don't think it's good doesn't mean it's not good. I've seen movies that I liked, and I thought it was well made and good. So I think that's really subjective. I agree that's how fanboys
I think he's pretty much saying the same thing you're saying. I think he's saying that just because I think it's great doesn't mean other people have to think it's great. I think that's what he's trying to say.
Oh, well, then I misinterpreted it.
And I think he's trying to say the opposite, too. Just because you think a movie's bad doesn't mean that it's bad. I think that's kind of his point there.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Comic Bound. I misinterpreted your comment then.
And he also gave us some help at 740 saying, don't forget to force push the light button or use
well, then I double apologize to you. And Fargan said, Tyler stories alone are worth this live chat. Well, okay. And Comic Bound says Taylor exactly. Okay, good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. what's good to you isn't good to everyone else. Okay, got it.
Lloyd Wong made the best comment. Wouldn't it be ironic if he was watching the show? What if he was like a long-term fan and he's just like so mad right now? If you're watching,
maybe it's Oxmeat Pete or somebody. We do have some fan that works in Walmart, but I don't know if we have a fan that works in Target.
In your defense, I don't know if they're really allowed to do that. I think they have to put things on the shelf before they can set things aside like that. Like I know whenever my wife used to work at Best Buy back in the day, whenever new video games came out, they couldn't like just set one aside for themselves. Not that she would, but people working there couldn't really do that unless they had to make sure other things actually sold first.
I've always had a good experience with the employees at Target. I do want to say, like, they're always just this one guy's the first guy who's never been helpful, who has not been helpful, but everybody else has been really helpful. And I do know the flip side of it is like fans are horrible. And I'm sure the guy who is a jerk has had so many bad experiences with G.I. Joe people being just jerks because Target's always out of stock. It's a huge deal. Every G.I. Joe fan's upset, and they probably inappropriately take it out on it.
And also, it's like Target employees make a ton of money, so he was trying to. You probably helped him not pay his electric bill this month.
Yeah, he doesn't have food on his plate tonight because
Tyler's a successful accountant throwing that money around Walmart and Target. And this guy's like, I can't even afford food.
He's like, my we to cure her polio, and we can't do it now. Okay, one thing before we get into the Star Wars comics, I wanted to make mention of this. In the Omnibus group for the Winter of Star Wars, there's a thread that I posted that I'm giving away this Star Wars Omnibus. It's the Star Wars, the Marvel UK collection. Is it good, you ask? I don't know. You tell me. I haven't read it. But I'm giving it away to one person. All you have to do is go onto the Facebook group, find the post. You can just search for Tyler Star Wars. It's probably like the first thing that will come up. And comment your favorite Star Wars moment. The giveaway is going to happen sometime this week. I just wanted to leave it open for as long as could be. All you have to do is pay for shipping on the book. The book is yours for free. All you got to do is pay for the shipping. So if you want to win the book, Honor of Star Wars, The Winter of Star Wars, I'll be announcing the giveaway probably on my channel, my YouTube channel, Super Squad D, probably sometime later this week. And we'll probably do like a live thing just so people know that it's not, rigged or anything. I'll just do like a live name picker. But I'd love for somebody in the OmniDog chat to get the book. I'd love for you guys to win because we always appreciate you watching our shows and hanging out. So anyway, that's it. Segue to Marvel Comics Star Wars.
Okay. I will say I do have one more thing about what it was like back in the day to see these movies, because the only actor in the first movie that anybody even really knew was
Alec Guinness.
Sir Alec Guinness. He's the only guy anybody knew besides Peter Cushing. And those were, Peter Cushing was from Hammer horror films, and that wasn't. I don't think that was Carrie Fisher's first movie, because I remember seeing her in Shampoo. With
Harrison Ford was in American Graffiti. That was kind of his bigger movie before that.
Yeah, he was in American Graffiti. I hadn't seen Mark Hamill in anything, and then you had James Earl Jones as the voice, who was arguably the most famous then. So they were really kind of. I wondered then, how did it was like a little movie that was shot in the desert. And I'm like, how did this little movie get Alec Guinness? That's a pretty big thing. And of course, he grew incredibly bitter over the whole thing in the later part of his life. But
and he was writing letters to a friend while he's making it. He's like, I don't know why I'm making this movie. I don't know what's going on. He's like in Bridge Over the River Kwai. He's in Dr. Zhivago, and now he's in Star Wars.
Yeah, and he said it's a bunch of spiritual mumbo jumbo, and they had to renegotiate, or they had to negotiate. All the actors did as a unit, including James Earl Jones, for the second movie, because all the toys were starting to come out, and they weren't going to get a cut of the action. So they threatened not to make the second movie, all of them, unless they got a cut of the action. And so they were in the toys, and I assume they must have got some of the back end on the movie too. But what they really wanted was the toy money.
Money.
They've made way more money off the toys than the movies. It's not even close.
Yeah.
I'm helping fund that.
But
I'm
yeah, back in the mid '90s or something, I think I told Taylor Brown this, or maybe I told you, Tyler, that James Earl Jones was in the middle of some shoot for either a TV show or a movie or a voiceover or something, and he and the director were not seeing eye to eye at all, and they just kept going at it. And James Earl Jones just finally says, he says the whole word though. He says, "F this. I've got Darth Vader money," and storms off the set. So they all got gosh from the new content they signed.
I love everything about that. Kenny, good question. In 2014, when the Star Wars Expanded Universe books and comics were deemed not canon anymore, what was our reaction to that? Taylor, I know you have read some of the Star Wars books, right?
I read one of the Legend books back when I was younger, and I've read some of the canon novels. I tried reading the new Charles Soule novel, and it wasn't bad by any means. I think I quickly realized that Star Wars is such a visual thing for me. For some reason, I can't read novels. I love reading novels, but for some reason, it'd be like reading like a Batman novel. I'm so used to a movie. I'm so used to comic. It's such a visual, striking picture to me that there are good books with Star Wars. I just can't get into them because of that hang up that I have. I know a lot of people were really upset whenever it went to Legends.
Well, that's how I feel about all books. If it doesn't have pictures, what's the point? I mean, but I had a friend who was obsessed with Legends, and I'm the same way. Like, I remember I had a job I had in high school where I was the chief executive hospitality engineer.
Wait, what title is that?
Say that again.
You're a greeter?
Chief executive hospitality engineer at a big furniture store in town. What do you mean?
You're a greeter.
No, I gave out popcorn.
Is that where the love affair started?
So, yeah, that's right. So I had a friend who worked there, though, and he would always come in and be like, "Dude, I read the sickest X-Men book. I'm like, you should hear what Gambit did." And I'm like, "You hear what Gambit did? Just go read a comic. You can see it." So I get that totally. But I had a friend who absolutely worshipped the Legends stuff. I mean, loved them.
These are all prose books?
There were comics too. There was a trilogy that was set after Return of the Jedi. It's called the Thrawn trilogy.
Oh, okay.
Has all the original characters in it. It's kind of their extended story after Return of the Jedi. It was almost like that was episode 7, 8, and 9. And so people loved that. So when they totally reset it, people were really upset.
Yeah, my friend was actually devastated. And that's partially because when those books came out and those comics, they actually said they're canon. Like they said, these are actually the canon of what happens. But that was before Disney bought it and they wanted to do new movies and all that. So I had friends who were so attached to what had happened. And let me be the first to say, even though I hadn't read the books, he told me all the stories. It sounded freaking awesome. Like it sounded super cool. And I think if there could be a time machine and you could go back and actually have Mark Hamill in his prime as Luke Skywalker, they would have been amazing. Like I wish they had made them into films. But I do know that caused so many people to hate the new stuff because they were so attached. And you saw that reach a climax in The Last Jedi. And I think that's part of why it didn't keep, like, I actually loved The Last Jedi. It was my favorite of the new 3 films. And I think part of the reason why I was not as upset about what happened with Luke is because I did not read all those novels. And I had no expectations of what I wanted Luke to become other than like what I had seen in the original trilogy. So I wasn't at all upset about what they did to him. But a lot of my friends who read those books, Kenny, they were devastated. So I just thought that was a really good question, and one that I think is an underlying feeling by a lot of the Star Wars fandom, which has been called one of the worst fandoms of all time.
It's the most toxic fandom of them all by far. It's not even close.
Yeah. And I think that underlying narrative of Legends versus canon now really fuels that. But, you know, I won't get into any more than that. But, you know, to each their own. I just hope everybody can enjoy Star Wars in some way. Whether you enjoy Legends, whether you enjoy canon,
for the most part, it seems like The Mandalorian has been something that the majority of Star Wars fans have jumped on and enjoyed. I'm not saying everybody, if you don't enjoy it, that's perfectly fine. That's your opinion. But I would say for the majority, most people are pleased or at least like it.
Yeah.
Or love it, I would say.
This is the way.
Like or love what?
Well, I think a lot of the Star Wars fans like or love The Mandalorian. I know there are people who don't like it, but the vast majority do like it, I think.
Well, as long as I like it, that's all I care about. I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just saying I like it. So
all I'm saying is I like that most people like it because it means that we all can just kind of move forward and hopefully have things that we all attach to.
Okay.
Yep. So let's look at the comics that are in canon and are amazing. Let's start with this book right here. Star Wars by Jason Aaron.
Okay.
What did you guys think of Star Wars by Jason Aaron?
I loved it.
Well, Jason Aaron's one of my favorite writers in comics, and I really loved his take, especially in the first. I think the first volume is my favorite. I know you have the omnibus, Tyler, but the first 12 issues are by far my favorite. That initial arc with John Cassaday art, I know John Cassaday can be hit or miss sometimes. He's usually hit for me, but he was fantastic in that first arc, where they're trying to steal a bunch of vehicles from this Empire vehicle depot. And they have a walker. Han Solo's driving it. Princess Leia's yelling at him. And Darth Vader shows up. There were just so many epic moments in that first arc.
He's the negotiator.
I think Jason Aaron writes Han Solo the best out of all the other writers who have touched him. He knows Harrison Ford's voice in that character.
While Jess is showing the pictures, I want to get your take on this, and I'd love to know what the chat has to say.
There you go.
I just saw a comment from Filthy Freddy that said, all praise to John Favreau, and Dave Filoni, please. Those two guys are amazing. What do you guys feel about when you see some of the artwork? So the artwork in this book oscillated between almost photorealism, like you could very clearly tell, oh, it's Mark Hamill, it's Harrison Ford, to more cartoony, especially towards the end of the run, where you couldn't really make out the features of who they were in real life, but you still got who the characters were. Which did you prefer, and what did you feel about both?
I thought Salvador LaRocca we'll get to Darth Vader by Kieran Gillen in a minute. He was fantastic in that series, but whenever he jumps on Star Wars toward the end of Jason Aaron's run, he does some really weird photo reference type stuff that really threw me off. And I appreciate he was trying to make it look realistic, but at some points you could see that he was almost tracing from an original scene from the movie. And I think towards the end of the Star Wars run, it started to get a little bit too much for me.
Jess, what about you? How did you feel about the art?
Being
realistic and then kind of cartoony. Which did you prefer?
I see what you're talking about. Cartoony. Here it's a little cartoony near the very end.
Right.
As long as the story's good, this art never bothered me. As a matter of fact, I never really paid attention. I did notice it changed from realistic to cartoony, but it was still a good story, and that's really what I genuinely cared about. I thought that Jason Aaron, I just kept the hardcovers. I felt like Jason Aaron did a fantastic job on creating new situations and new plot points for these characters to go on. And I think the design of this book cover is awesome.
Beautiful.
Is this what the omnibus is?
No, it's just the hardcover sleeve. The omnibus, I can go grab it. It's just a picture of some of the rebellion on the front cover. I felt the same way about the art, except I prefer, which is really weird because in general, I usually don't prefer, it throws me off when people go for a super photorealistic look in comics. To me, it really throws me off. But in this book, I actually preferred it when they looked more like their photorealistic versions of themselves, as opposed to some of the art at the end that got super cartoony. And I just felt like they lost some of the features that make them unique and special. I agree with Cassaday's art being really good. I thought that was really good in the book.
I thought
And
Stuart Eminem was the best out of all of them because
Yeah,
he wasn't cartoony. He wasn't too hyper realistic.
it's right in the
It
middle.
was fantastic. He did that arc. He did the second arc, I believe, or the third arc. Whenever he has to deal with Gracchus the Hutt, they deal with Gracchus the Hutt and that Jedi trainer.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
What was your, speaking of that, what was y'all's favorite arc from this book?
I think either that first one or the one with Gracchus the Hutt where he gets like involved in a gladiator tournament, pretty much Luke Skywalker does.
You just like see it, it's like super ripped. He's like, I will put you down, boy.
Yeah, those two are probably my favorites from the Jason Aaron run.
What about you, Jess?
You know what I really liked in the Jason Aaron run were the interstitial Obi-Wan Kenobi journals.
Those were great.
That's what I liked the most. Luke reading those journals and having them drawn and come to life. I really enjoyed them. I
loved and had never thought about the difficulty that Obi-Wan, I'm talking about him like he's a real person. I love the difficulty that Obi-Wan must have felt to do nothing on Tatooine. And that was such an interesting angle, like where he went from being this awesome peacekeeping, do anything and step in anytime there's an injustice type of character to having to keep his powers and himself a secret. So like he would see injustice and know he can't act because that will alert the Empire and it will ruin everything that he knows he needs to do. That was a really cool concept for me. And I hope that the TV series, the mini series of Obi-Wan that's coming out with Ewan McGregor, I hope they pull some of those stories. For me, my favorite part of the books, I really liked, I loved, what's her name? The girl that was Han Solo. It wasn't Lana, was it? What was her name? The Solo, I'm blanking on it right now. The girl that said she was Han Solo's wife.
Oh, yeah.
That was like his old running buddy. And like, I want her to show up in the new, somehow in The Mandalorian or something like that. I would love that. That would be amazing if her character was still around because I really liked her character. But my favorite arc was actually, it was kind of like yours, which was like the flashback arcs, but it was the one where after he gets Ben's journal, he's reading about Yoda going to this planet.
Yeah.
It was like the planet itself had basically rock people who were alive and they were using the Force. Like all the inhabitants were using the Force and they didn't realize what the Force was. And then it ends with Luke going to that planet years later and character tie-ins and a really nice, beautiful story wrap up. I thought it was wonderful. It really showcased a really great aspect of Yoda.
Yeah.
It was a really touching and moving moment when you see the little kid from the Yoda arc suddenly all grown up. And I just absolutely loved it. I thought it was great.
See, this speaks to how subjective all this is. That was my least favorite one by far. For me, I felt like it went on way too long. Like it could have been like 3 issues shorter. But I thought the general concept was interesting.
Yeah, I really liked that one a lot.
It was good. It was a good omnibus. And I haven't read the stuff after Aaron's run. I know that it goes on, I think, for like 70 something issues.
Kieran Gillen picks up after that. I read that whole run, and I also read the Greg Pak run, which ends the initial Star Wars run, because this initial Star Wars run I think is like 75 issues, and it's all set before Empire Strikes Back. And the new #1 and the new series is written by Charles Soule. That's set after Empire Strikes Back, after Luke loses his hand. So Kieran Gillen's right after this. They touch on a lot of stuff that happened in Rogue One. They go to Jeddah, which was partially destroyed by the Death Star in Rogue One. It touches upon a lot of that stuff. And it also goes back to a lot of plot threads from his Darth Vader run, Kieran Gillen's.
Is that stuff that hasn't been released in oversized hardcover?
No, it hasn't. I read it on Marvel Unlimited back when I had that app.
I'm wait for a hardcover omnibus. If I end up waiting too long, I'll circle back and read it because that's super cool. And I would love to read post Empire Strikes Back Luke. I think there's a lot of cool stories, especially after like the end of Empire. And that was one thing that I never considered actually about the films was how much time actually took place in between the films. Because obviously Jess mentioned at the beginning of the show that there's a lot of time in real life that passed in between the films. So maybe you felt like maybe more could happen. But when I watched the films originally and for my whole life, it's just like, A New Hope, immediately Empire Strikes Back, immediately Return of the Jedi.
I think between A New Hope and Empire, it's
like
2 or 3 years, and then after Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi is 1 year.
So it's just there's a lot of stories to be told there that they don't just take place immediately right after. And I could see where something after Empire, going from Luke crying about his father and his hand getting cut off and dejected to competent Jedi going and saving Han Solo, I think will be some really cool stories to tell about.
And also with Lando, because like he's like a scoundrel at the end of Empire Strikes Back, and they all like, okay, this guy's a jerk, but we need him. And then he goes to being like their best friend, and Chewie loves him.
Yeah.
So seeing how that dynamic also changes is really interesting.
I'd really enjoy reading that. So I love Aaron, love the run. The question that I always ask on all my reviews, was it compelling? Did you guys find the story compelling to the point where you kept wanting to read?
I've read it twice. I read it a couple of years ago, and I read it this time. And the only thing I am disappointed by is that he didn't really get to finish his run in the way he wanted to initially, because he had to drop the title because he had too much going on, and he had to pick one thing to let go of at Marvel. And so that's why it kind of feels rushed at the end, and there's kind of like a bunch of one-shots towards the end. They weren't bad or anything. I just think he had more to go, especially with that specific Stormtrooper squadron. I think there's more he could have picked up with that. And so that's the only thing I wish he could have finished out the way he initially wanted to. Get like 12 more issues and go to 50 issues or something.
I need to read. Yeah, I found it compelling enough now that I know that there's stuff on Marvel Unlimited to keep reading. I'm going to keep reading it. I love the all the content in the 3 oversized hardcovers. I'm going to give a spoiler and just say, well, there was one part of one book that was only medium for me, but I felt all the books that I read were at least very good to excellent.
Yeah.
I enjoyed all of them, and I felt, I like how you always use compelling enough to keep going. I found all the books compelling. Like, I'm so keeping all these because I want to read them again and again, like seeing the movies again.
I felt the same way. It was one of those books where the minute that I started reading it, I just couldn't put it down. I just like, oh, this is so good. You know, in life, for me, that's what I want from something. From entertainment, I want to think about my entertainment when I'm not doing whatever the entertainment is. So if it's a game, I want to love it so much that when I'm not playing it, I'm thinking about playing it and planning about it and thinking about all the different things I can do. Same thing with a book. Like when I'm reading a book I love, I want to be thinking about that book when I'm not reading it. Like, oh, what's going to happen here? Wouldn't it be cool if this happened? Or I wonder who this is. If I read something and it's boring or if it's not compelling to me, that is more of a tell than anything. And it doesn't matter if it's like the greatest thing I've ever read.
Yeah.
If it's not compelling, then it's not going to keep my attention.
So like G.I. Joe.
How dare you? How dare you? Right now. So do we want to segue to the Vader book?
Yeah, we should talk about the 2 Vader books.
Which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, the one that was going along with Jason Aaron's run was Kieran Gillen's. We should probably talk about that one because there's actually a crossover in those series. But all the crossover issues are in that. I think it's the first or is it the second hardcover? Second hardcover is Vader Down, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I had the omnibus, but it was in the omnibus.
Leo, I'm pretty sure it was in the second.
Back in the chat, but you were super negative, and I will kick you out of the chat totally unless you can become more positive in your comments. You are way too negative for my channel. So just be more positive and you can participate. Okay, keep going. Well, here's the 2. I didn't upgrade to the omnibus, or I did, and then I downgraded again because I traded the omnibus. I think that's what happened. I loved this Darth Vader because it was super original with creation of Dr. Aphra and the killer droids and Black Kyrgyzstan. and he this is right after Empire Strikes Back. Oh wait, This is right after the Death Star is destroyed, right? So it's after
Right.
the first one.
So he's in really hot. He's in a lot of hot water with with the Emperor and with his other colleagues in the Empire.
Right. We doubt him.
Yeah, because they view this as his big failure. Because Grand Moff Tarkin's dead, so they can't blame him. So they blame Vader.
Yeah.
Which
So
was so great.
And the greatest addition to this, I love Dr. Aphra, but I love 000 and I love BT.
Me too. I was gonna say.
C-3PO, he's the most annoying character besides Jar Jar Binks in Star Wars. I love C-3PO, but we all get annoyed by him. He's supposed to annoy us.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see a really interesting, funny, compelling version of C-3PO who loves to murder. That's his ultimate prime directive is to murder things and torture people, which is hilarious.
Yeah, that was so fun. That was everything about Aphra and those two droids was probably my favorite of the takeaways. There's an arc where, do you guys remember? It's like it's like the mining planet where they're going and there's like a mining civil war, and they're trying. Vader's reinforcing. He basically goes in and slaughters the whole family except for the daughter who he puts in charge, and then
she has a big role to play in Kieran Gillen's Star Wars run, by the way.
Oh, cool. Well, I really liked the fact that there's like a big battle happening, and the two droids. One of it was 000 tells Darth Vader, he's like, Lord Vader, I have a great idea. No, he said, Lord Vader, I have a great idea. No, can't do a 000 voice. It's too hard. Lord Vader, I have an idea. He's like, why? I came up with this design. We can refuel the droid army by just using blood from organics. We'll just suck the blood out. It'll give us energy. And Vader's like, no, you're not doing that. And so then in the middle of the arc, 000 gets over the microphone as like all these people are fighting the droids. And he's like, droids, yes, we most certainly did not equip you with blood-sucking syringes that are going to draw on the blood of your enemies and power you indefinitely. And all the enemies are like, just slowly back away and retreat. It's just so good. 000 is amazing. My favorite arc, though, was Vader down. That, the moment when he hits the battlefield and all those tanks surround him, and they're like, Lord Vader, we have you surrounded. And he says, I see nothing but dead men and fear. Or I see nothing but fear and dead men. And then he just wrecks shop. I mean, like, takes out a whole army. It was so cool and disgusting. Like, yes. Oh.
Yeah, it went back and forth between Salvador LaRocca and Mike Deodato, who both did a great job. It went back and forth from the main Star Wars title to the Darth Vader book.
Oh, it was so good.
And usually crossovers suck, but this was fantastic.
Yeah, I thought this was amazing. And he takes out all the tanks and stuff. You know, it's one of those things where you just, when you watch Star Wars, this is one thing that, like, we didn't talk about earlier, but fans, you know, they'll be like, well, how come the fight scene was so basic in A New Hope between Vader and Obi-Wan, but it's way crazier in the comics and the cartoon show? You're like, well, that's just because the technology didn't exist. If they could have made the fight scene crazier and awesomer, they would have. But in the comics, you're not constrained, much like in animation, by real actors and real people and CGI. In comics, you can draw whatever you want, right? And so it was just a moment where we got to see Vader let loose and just go nuts. I mean, flinging tanks and stopping missiles in midair and just, oh, it was so cool. That
even cooler than the end of Rogue One, where he's just wrecking shop.
Yeah, the hallway scene, that was worth the price of admission. I love Rogue One. It was my favorite of all the new movies, but that was worth the price of admission just to see Vader. But my other favorite moment was, it was a subtle moment. It was when he hires Boba Fett to find out who destroyed the Death Star, because they don't know who was the person who actually did it, the pilot. He just keeps hearing about this hotshot ace pilot. And he hires Boba Fett, and that's like Boba Fett has an arc in the Star Wars book where he runs into Luke on Tatooine when Luke goes back for Ben's journal. But when he tells Vader who it is, and it's just Vader, such a powerful image, Vader standing on like the bridge of the Star Destroyer or whatever the ship he's on, and he hears the name Skywalker. And he just says Skywalker, and he grips his fist, and the glass shatters. Like it cracks everywhere. Oh, that was so powerful to me, because I just thought that would, like, all of the realization in that one moment that he has a son. He was deceived by Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan hid the son. Somebody who's related to him, like it hits him all at once, and he's just so irate with anger, and also teeming with the possibility of, as we saw in the other run, possibly actually killing the Emperor and taking over, potentially with his son. Join me and we can rule the galaxy. The idea that Vader still has ambitions and still has desires and things that he wants to accomplish beyond just being the Emperor's little boy. I thought that was so powerful and cool to me.
And I really like the different competition that was set up, that the Emperor set up with all the different other experiments he has.
Right.
And that was really interesting, seeing him just like take these people to task and them totally underestimating him. And him even setting up opportunities for where it looks like he's failing, but he's actually just setting them up for failure. And that was really interesting to me. Because a lot of times we view Vader as like a physical threat, but he's also a mental threat. He's a great strategist. He can think like 10 steps ahead of you. He already has plotted your downfall like 5 years ago, and he knows what he's going to do. And that was really cool, seeing him go up against these young punks who thought they could take him down.
Yeah. And we saw a lot of that in the Soul Vader arc, or the Soul Vader book, where the Emperor kind of challenges Vader a little bit. And there's a little bit of competition in that book as well.
Well, Jess, I think your favorite of all these books is the Kieran Gillen Darth Vader, right? I know you love that run. Was that your favorite, you think?
I think so. Yeah, I did really love the Soul run of Darth Vader. As I said, everything I read was at least very good to excellent. But it just turns out that my favorite was Kieran Gillen's Darth Vader. That was also the first one I read of all these. So that could be like a currency bias, because it did introduce all those characters, and I thought Dr. Aphra was such an interesting character that I hadn't been exposed to any civilians that were in the employ of the Darth Vader in the Empire. I hadn't read anything of like a normal citizen that was for the Empire. All you ever really see is these citizens that are enslaved by the Empire. And this is one where she's not only for the Empire, she's bloodthirsty enough that she's like, Darth Vader, your wish is my command, let's go. And she has all these great adventures, just her part in Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And the introduction of the murder bots, the murder droids, and Black Kyrgyzstan. Was my favorite.
How about the ending with her and Vader at the very end of the run? I thought that was a really cool ending, and I won't spoil it for people who haven't read it, even though we kind of been talking about spoilers, but it ends really cool.
Well, you've been the one spoiling stuff, but
right.
Me and Jess were kind of like, okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
And it also leads to the Dr. Aphra solo series, which is, I know Taylor's still bitter about.
Yeah, I like Comic Bound's comment at 814. He knows this might be I think this is the most annoyed I've ever been with collected editions.
Really? Yeah.
You've ever been.
Because here's the thing, Tyler, I love this book, but I don't like huge omnis. And so we get that first original hardcover. I love it. I buy it. I'm waiting patiently for the next ones. These trades are coming out. They start going out of print. Even the trades are going out of print. And then they discontinue the hardcovers. Now they're putting out an omnibus. That's a DC move right there. Finish the hardcovers, then do an omnibus. They did it with Kieran Gillen's run. They did it with Jason Aaron's run. They put out the hardcovers, then an omnibus. I'm still so bitter about it, as you can tell.
I'm sorry. That is painful. I haven't reid the run because I'm waiting for the omnibus, but as soon as it comes in, I'm going to
have to buy the omnibus. I'm going to have to.
Guy Spurrier takes it over, and I think he writes her really well.
I'm going to have to buy the Omni. I'm going to have to go against my tendencies to not buy thick Omnis and get that, because I have to have it. I love that series.
Yeah. You definitely do, because I really enjoyed Dr. Aphra. She's the one that I can't cover in this series because I sold everything off and bought the omnibus. I pre-ordered the omnibus. So, I mean, I can't show anything from it other than to say I loved all of her solo run and that I think Cy Spurrier does a really good job. He took over from whoever wrote the first one, I think.
It was Kieran Gillen at first because he created her.
Okay, so it was Kieran Gillen at first, and then I think Cy Spurrier takes over for him. And I think it's seamless, his takeover from Kieran Gillen. And I can't wait to get that omnibus. I am making a vow right now.
Yeah.
When I get that omnibus, I'm going to treat it just like I did the Planetary. Authority omnibus. As soon as I got the Authority omnibus, I sat down, tore off the seal, wrapper paper, the wrapper, and read it right away.
That is a great book.
So
I never do that with omnis. My first thing is to always go for the hardcovers or the trades because they're the easier read. But I'm eyeing New Mutants right there too. That's another book that I want to read, and that's really thick.
I'm 4 issues in and loving it. 1 issue a day.
Yeah.
And I would grab the Dr. Aphra hardcover and show you ARP. It's too painful.
You still have it?
Yeah, I still have it. No one wants to buy that. Who wants to buy that now? Nobody. That's what annoys me.
Somebody will take it.
Did you have the trades, or you just?
No, I had the hardcover, and I was waiting patiently for a second, which never came.
So, you guys think how cool would it be if they brought Aphra in to the Mandalorian show? Would that not be super boss? They could do it.
They're doing it a lot with cartoons to live action, and they're even putting some live action characters in cartoons.
Does Dr. Aphra have her own show coming up?
No.
Ahsoka
does. Ahsoka Tano does. Ahsoka, she's having her own show.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
She's the figure I want. The only movie or TV figure I've ever wanted, and that's Ahsoka. I want her from Mandalorian, not from the cartoon. I understand why you want her from the cartoon, but I want Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka.
I really want to get the Return of the Jedi Boba Fett that's coming out this year because it comes with really cool accessories, the Black Series.
Yeah.
And I also want to
listen to him.
I already told Tyler
accessories.
Because it has. Remember how he gets wrapped up in that cable, and then he gets his gun cut in half. Well, he has the cable. He wraps Luke up in the cable. They have the cable gun, and they have the part where Luke cuts his gun in half, and it kind of has like the scorch mark on it. That looks really cool.
When you're excited about accessories, you're an action figure fan.
I have my first bag of accessories somewhere. It has 2 hands in it. But I also want to get the Mandalorian Black Series 6-inch figure with the Beskar armor because they have the original armor out, which the original armor is fine, but we all know the Beskar armor is so much cooler.
They have a Target 2. Oh,
this is the one I have, but I do want the Beskar armor.
They have a Target 2-pack, okay? Target 2-pack exclusive.
Fudge.
The Mandalorian in Beskar and the child. Okay, so they have the Mandalorian by himself and the child.
Is this a pre-order?
No, this is on shelves now. So they have a Mandalorian by himself and a child by himself. But if you get the two-pack together, talk about accessories, it comes with all the accessories. The little homing beacon that he has that he can hold. He's got his staff. He's got his gun. And he's got the crib type thing.
Yeah, the moving crib type thing.
Yeah, and it's got a cool clear stand, so it looks like it's floating next to him. So you can have him post. So here's the deal.
I want that.
Just his face.
I've looked so many times at Target, and I have friends tell me, hold on, don't buy it on eBay. But right about 10 minutes before we started the show, I was like, purchase. I bought it on eBay.
How much did you get it
for? It was $60 shipped on eBay.
Oh, that's not bad.
Well, it's $35 plus tax in the store, plus gas. You're looking at $42 to go get it if you buy it from the store. So you're talking about an $18 difference to not have to go hunt for it a bunch of times, not to fight against people. It's going to be a pricey figure at some point. It absolutely will be a pricey figure at some point. It was worth it to me.
I would pay that extra just to not to have to leave the house and
Yeah.
look for it, because I'm not going to find it. My
I've
target, I have
many times it's not there.
several targets around, and there's no way I'd find it. So I'm willing to pay a premium, not a big premium. I'm not going to pay $100 for it, but I'll pay 60 shipped easily.
Yeah. Well, check out eBay. There's a few on there for 60 shipped after the show.
Oh, well, thanks. Now I got to go right this second, but before all the annoying studs in the chat do it.
Nah, it's the going rate on eBay. You'll be fine.
Are you sure? What do I look for?
Johnny Air Windows asks a really good question. If we could cast a live action Dr. Aphra, who would it be? I think I can speak for all of us when unanimously I say it'd be Jennifer Gardner, the star of Aladdin.
That is so not what I would say.
Everyone thinks it.
I'm so bad at that question. I can never think of someone on the top of my head.
I don't do a very good job at that.
I don't either. Doing casting, because who I would say is already in The Mandalorian, and that's Ming Na.
Yeah, because Dr. Aphra is Asian, isn't she?
She's Asian, yeah.
I've seen people say the actress who played Quake in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know if she's got the charisma to do it. She played Sky, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You have to be really humorous to be able to pull that off.
Yeah, I'm not sure she has the charisma. She certainly has the looks, but I just don't know if she has the charisma to do it. But maybe. I'd be willing to give anybody a shot. I mean, I learned a long time ago never to judge a casting by just the look on the face, because I was bad wrong about Heath Ledger, as was everybody. And then I was also bad wrong about Ben Affleck. So after those two moments, I was like, you know what? I just need to wait and see how their performance turns out, because you never quite know.
Jess is currently buying that figure.
Yeah, good.
Trying.
Good on you, mate. Good on you. So,
God, that's annoying. Mate, good on you, mate.
Ryan Face loves that.
Ryan loves it when I call him mate. Every day I call him mate, and he really likes it. Trust me, he loves it. So let me ask you guys this before we get into the other run while Jess is doing his mystery things. I set up a display here. Somebody asked me this question the other day, and I've really thought a lot about it, and I want to get the chat's opinion, and I want to get y'all's opinion. This right here is Darth Vader versus the Avengers. In a fight, Darth Vader versus the movie Avengers. Okay, we're not talking comics Avengers. We're talking about Darth Vader in all mediums, including comics and TV shows, versus just the movie Avengers. Who wins?
The Avengers.
Why?
Versus Darth Vader?
Well, if you have Scarlet Witch and Vision, I mean, he's going to lose.
Scarlet can smash Vision.
Yeah, but Scarlet Witch, I think Scarlet Witch is the most powerful in the entire MCU, and I think
agree.
her powers outmatch the Force powers that.
Ooh.
Maybe, but Vader could just force choke her from a distance.
She could Force choke him too. She can pretty much do anything.
But he could also use mind control.
So she did that in Avengers: Age of Ultron.
That's true, but she had to be close.
All of them.
But she had to be close. All right, so someone says Hulk would wreck Vader, but can Vader not just crush Hulk's throat before he gets to him? Also, Hulk is a very weak-minded person.
Here's the thing, Tyler. If you're looking at just the movie version of Vader, it would definitely be the Avengers, but the comics definitely up his power.
Yeah, that's why I said comics. Yeah, I agree. I mean, Hulk is a very weak-willed being. Like, he's strong, but he's not got a lot of mental intelligence. I think he would be an easy one to use.
The Hulk is almost always a liability.
Yeah, I mean, Vader could just go attack your teammates, and then the Hulk smashed the wrong people.
They'll have that one friend that you shouldn't bring to something because they'll probably
is that one friend.
You won't say out of the three of us which one it is, right?
You go to a party and you bring that one guy and you're just like, oh God, please don't let him go too far. Please.
You can all decide in the chat who you think it would be out of the three of us.
I do think Thor might give him a problem with magic.
Well, think about this, Tyler. It's all of them against him. They would overwhelm him. He wouldn't be able to focus enough.
The other one I think would actually be probably the one who would undo him if it wasn't Thor would maybe be Doctor Strange. Because Doctor Strange could just open up a portal to another world and be like, boop.
Yeah, I think Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch alone would be able to defeat him rather easily.
Interesting.
Very fun to think about. It's a very fun who would win. I also saw another who would win that we won't get into because this would be a major tangent Tuesday, but it was Hancock, the superhero movie Hancock.
That movie was good for like 10 minutes.
Okay, Hancock versus Homelander. I've not seen either, so I can't say, but I thought it was an interesting discussion. We'll save that for another time. Okay, so
Homelander. Who's seen Homelander?
In The Boys?
Oh! I thought you meant. Sorry, I was thinking of that other lander. I can. Okay, I'm thinking of a different thing, a different show, something lander.
Well, let's talk about my personal favorite, and that's Charles Soule's Vader run. Well, sorry, Jess, you didn't seem like you were going to figure it out, so I thought we'd move on.
No, go ahead. I'm kidding.
My personal favorite is Charles Vader. Charles Vader. Sorry, Jess is throwing me off. Charles Soule's Vader run, and as someone who's not, I think as the years go on, I think I appreciate the prequels more. I don't like them or really love them. I think Revenge of the Sith in particular has a good plot, terrible dialogue, and Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman just kind of ruin it. But I mean, Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi is just fantastic, and there's a lot of great things. Order 66, that's one of the most interesting eras of Star Wars for me. And we'll talk about this when we get to Kanan. Is Jedi trying to survive after Order 66? Because not all the Jedi die, even though like 99% of them do. There are some who are left over, and in this run, you see Anakin Skywalker truly become Darth Vader.
Yeah,
truly cut himself off from the light side. That's pretty much what this entire run is about. I don't want to spoil the ending. That's basically what it's generally about. And I love the beginning where he's chasing down Jedi who survived Order 66 and killing them. And
I hated that part.
You did?
Well, in what book?
In Soul. But the reason I hated it is because it just hurt me to read.
Wait, what book?
In a good way.
Charles Soule Vader.
Charles Soule Vader. It hurt me in a good way. Like I was reading and I was just so sad for all the Jedi that he was hunting down. I think that's how you're supposed to feel, right? I mean,
yeah.
I had a hard time. This was my favorite Vader run also. I didn't mean to cut you off, Taylor. This was my favorite. This is my favorite Vader run as well. And that reading his descent into darkness actually really hurt me. Like I felt that.
See, I think these books are written so well. I'm like finding myself rooting for him, even though I don't want him to succeed.
Yeah.
I kind of disagree with you about that. I'm going to cut you off because you cut me off.
Yeah,
I think that it's written, both series are written so well, Gillen and Soule, that I am actually on Vader's side, even though in general I'm on the Rebel side and I'm on the light side. Yeah. I just think this series is so well done, and the whole idea of how he bleeds his kyber crystal and how he gets a red lightsaber was so cool, and I love seeing that.
What was the guy's name?
I'm really bad with Star Wars names. So
yeah,
in
general. But the guy who was like the awesomest Jedi fighter who was banished to like discover his purpose in the Force. He was like one of the strongest Jedi fighters of all time, of that era. He was banished to discover his purpose in the Force. And so he was not allowed to interfere in anything that was happening until the Force showed him what it wanted him to do. And that was a really cool fight and moment where Vader confronts him and actually at the beginning part loses. I won't spoil how it ends because apparently we're not supposed to be doing spoilers, but where he loses the first bout with that guy who is super strong. That was really awesome. I don't know. Maybe it's something that's messed up with me. I love to know what the chat thinks because I had a hard time rooting for Vader, except when Vader was against other bad people.
It goes back to what I was saying. I'm on the dark side. Jess is neutral, and you're on the light side.
That's true. Like I felt so bad. Like the arc with Jocasta?
No, Jocasta's an Avenger.
The library.
Yeah, Jocasta knew.
Yeah, it was Jocasta. Okay.
Oh.
I was second guessing myself. Because Jocasta is an Avenger. That part, it just broke my heart because
that was so cool when she had that lightsaber gun. That was really cool.
And I loved the
part in the movie, please. I want to see that in the movie.
Where she sneaks back into the library and she sees that the Sith Inquisitor who was a former Jedi just going through all the books he should not be allowed to go through. And she just can't help herself but to just say something and intervene. That just made me so sad, though, because I remember her character from the Clone Wars. I go back to what you were saying as well. I found that my favorite era of Star Wars is the prequel, but my favorite movies of Star Wars are the original trilogy. And that's because of what you said. I don't find the movies themselves of Star Wars of the prequels all that great. But the concepts were strong. And the Clone Wars, Dave Filoni fleshed out this era of Star Wars so well between the Clone Wars and then a little bit of Rebels, which I haven't even watched Rebels yet, but it's so well fleshed out and designed that it's my favorite era of Star Wars. And because of that, it made me love, I think, this Vader book more than the other Vader book. And it makes me just like the characters in the time period a lot more because of what Dave Filoni has done.
And this is more of a character study of Vader. I think the other Vader story does tap into him a lot, but it's a lot of focus on Dr. Aphra and BT-1 and 000, which is great. But I like how this one's really focused, laser focused on Vader and his transformation. Because I know Jess always says that he didn't buy the transformation of Hayden Christensen into Darth Vader. But but Jess, you see a lot more of that in this book.
Yeah.
And he finally actually does become Darth Vader. He hasn't become Darth Vader when he puts on the costume. Yeah. He hasn't become Darth Vader when he puts on the costume. He becomes Darth Vader at the end of this run.
I agree.
It's Infilla is the amazing Star Wars, the amazing Jedi.
That guy was awesome. I loved his character. And, that's one of the things the Clone Wars, the animated series, did as well, which really showed the descent into Vader. It showed it and made it make a lot more sense than the movies. But that's kind of what we've been talking about this whole time. Although the original movies stand on their own much better than the prequel films, the comics add such a nice layer of depth to the story because you see so much more that happens. And that's what the Clone Wars did for me with the prequels. And it just kind of bridged some of the stuff that I felt like didn't make sense. I heard Dave Filoni say something about Star Wars that blew my mind that I just wanted to share with you guys and share with the chat. And I think I shared this with Jess before, but Dave Filoni, if you guys don't know who that is, he's the guy who did the Clone Wars. He's the guy who was heavily involved in Mandalorian. He created Ahsoka, and he was, he's I don't want to say he's definitely not the Kevin Feige of Star Wars, but he should be. He absolutely should be. Because he understands Star Wars. He learned from Lucas, but he can take what Lucas had in ideas and actually make it make sense a lot of times. But he understands Star Wars and the heart of it from Lucas. So he explained this. This was in episode 2 of the behind the scenes of The Mandalorian. Do you remember what that was called, Taylor? Is it Star Wars Gallery?
Yeah, it's Gallery. It has like 8 episodes in the first season. Then there's one long episode about season 2.
Okay, so he says in the Star Wars Gallery, I love that he basically paints a picture of Vader's life. And was this?
Sorry, yeah, we'll tell you later.
Okay. Yeah. He paints a picture of Vader's life, and he basically says, I never knew this. You guys may have known this, but he talks about how Duel of the Fates, you guys know that song? When,
the most don't copy strike us, please. I know that was a perfect rendition.
Yes, just copy strike us. He just lost all of his ad revenue from that. I hope you're happy.
Sorry, Jess. I'll send you 35 cents in the minute.
Thank you.
That song the title was about the fate of Anakin Skywalker, and it was about who was going to raise Anakin. Because if Qui-Gon lives in that moment, Qui-Gon raises Anakin and becomes the father to Anakin that Anakin always wanted and needed, because Qui-Gon was so far ahead of the other Jedi in terms of the other Jedi at that time were too wrapped up in politics and in the Senate, and they were saying you should close yourself off from all feelings. Whereas Qui-Gon had already left the council and deviated from that, saying feelings aren't bad. You just have to know how to handle them and embrace them. And so Qui-Gon, the fate of Anakin is intertwined with the fate of Qui-Gon, because Qui-Gon dies. And then Anakin is left without a father figure. And so he seeks out that in Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan tries to raise Anakin as a father figure out of duty, not because he believes in Anakin. Because when they first meet Anakin, Obi-Wan makes it very clear he doesn't believe in him and doesn't want him to become a Jedi and train and all that, but he does it out of duty, not because he believes in him. And so because of that, he ends up becoming more like a brother and less like the father that Anakin needs. And that void in Anakin's life is always there. And then you flash forward to the point where Anakin believes that something is going to happen to his mom. He keeps having these visions, and the Jedi keep saying the same thing. Close yourself off to your feelings. Don't let your fear guide you. Don't worry about it. And then his mom dies. And you think about what would have happened if Qui-Gon had been raising Anakin. Qui-Gon would have said, go check it out. If you're worried about her, like your feelings do matter, go check it out. And his mom probably would have been saved. But when that happens, that's really one of the big turning points for Anakin when he grows to resent the Jedi and think they're wrong. And then Palpatine, knowing that Anakin is the chosen one, seeing that already, realizes that if he can't kill him, he can turn him. And so he offers to become the father figure that Anakin has always wanted, who believes in him, who tells him he can do what he wants and all that. And Anakin's slow descent to the dark side happens. And then you see all the way through Return of the Jedi, when Luke shows up and Luke decides to not take that path of vengeance, it's like Vader in that one last moment realizes, even though he hasn't done it up to that point, he can be the father that he always wanted. He can be the father figure to Luke, to lay down his life, to do the right thing, and to save Luke, and to put him first. It's just a beautiful picture of family and fatherhood and relationships that encompass this whole six-movie arc about the person of Vader being the chosen one, who he ultimately brings balance to the Force by killing the Emperor.
Then they ruin it in the sequel trilogy by bringing the Emperor back.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. Those 6 films are a beautiful story to me. And Dave Filoni explained that, and I just fell in love all over again with the prequels and Star Wars as a whole, because I'd never seen it presented.
There are just so many great moments from the prequels, like Darth Maul. He's a huge character in Clone Wars and Rebels. He was very one-dimensional in Episode 1. He's just a cool-looking bad guy. He's so much more fleshed out in the cartoons.
Yeah,
Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. I love Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. He's fantastic, and he was like arguably one of the only good actors in the original in that prequel trilogy, who actually did a really good job with the character. And the Clone Wars is interesting. Order 66 is really interesting. I mean, Ian McDermott as the Emperor is fantastic. I think Ian McDermott and Ewan McGregor were the best parts of the original trilogy.
For sure. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how they go and what they do in the future. But Star Wars will always have a special place in my heart. And I'm so thankful that we have these comics now. I mean, I know some people are upset over the fact that Disney purchased Star Wars because...
Not me.
But yeah, I mean, because, I know a lot of people didn't like Rise of Skywalker or the new trilogy direction, which is fine. Everyone's entitled to enjoy what they enjoy. But I just love that we're getting such really high quality Star Wars comic material. And that definitely would not have happened. Not that the other comics weren't good. I haven't read them, so I don't know. But I love that we're getting some in-canon comics. And I'm excited to see what the future of Star Wars will be in comic form. Are you guys at all interested in the High Republic?
Oh, Taylor asked me that in the green room right before the show.
And I started reading the novel, and it wasn't that it was bad. I realized I'm just such a visual person when it comes to Star Wars. I'm someone who reads a lot of prose books throughout the year, but I don't know what it is about Star Wars. I just can't get into the novels for some reason, even though I know a lot of people love them. But I do want to read the comic whenever it comes out in collected editions for them.
Yeah, I do too.
I've heard good things about it.
It's not. Is it an Omni that's coming out?
I mean, the first issue just came out, so not.
The High Republic. The comic.
Yeah. Old Republic is the Legend stuff.
Yeah,
that's going to be coming out in an omnibus.
I'm excited.
It just started, right?
But I think it will be interesting to see what Marvel does. I would not be at all surprised if the High Republic comic era becomes a testing ground for ideas, much in the way that comics have been for the film. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if they end up making some High Republic films that really they get the ideas from the comics, which would be kind of cool. Because I mean, every Star Wars comic that they've released in canon so far, I'm like, make that into a show, make that into a movie, make that into a movie, give us Aphra. So I'm excited about the High Republic era and what we might see in the future with Star Wars.
I know Jess and I both read Kanan, and I think you read that a while ago, Tyler.
Yeah.
Jess, I'm someone I've watched a season and a half of Rebels. I'm still watching it. And so I think I was able to pick up some stuff that maybe you weren't able to pick up as not watching any Rebels. How did you feel reading that book, not having any Rebels knowledge at all?
Yeah, I have no Star Wars cartoon background at all. I haven't seen Clone Wars or Rebels, but this book, I still enjoyed it, but I could tell, I really enjoyed it, but I could tell that it pulled on a lot of references from the cartoons. And so I will watch the cartoons, but I have to watch Batman, the animated series first. I have to finish that first before I get into Star Wars.
Jack has promised me he's going to finish it this year, and we're going to do an episode on Batter Days in the Batcave about Batman animated series, because I've been waiting for like 2 years. at this point, but Jess is getting there. Jess is doing the work. He'll get there.
I am
Buddy.
on the third disc now. So, but yeah, I like this a lot. But yeah, there were a lot of things that I didn't get because of not having the knowledge of the cartoons. And I have to say that even as great as the cartoons probably are, it's still going to be hard for me to get into them simply because they're cartoons. I just haven't. I appreciate everything in Batman the animated series, and I really enjoy it, but it's still a cartoon to me. And
It's not compelling to you?
no, it is. It is compelling to me.
Shut your mouth, Tyler. That's compelling to everybody. It's the most compelling content ever created.
Yeah, see, I don't have those cartoons in my childhood to worship like you guys do.
The Flintstones, you got the Jetsons.
Yeah, and the Flintstones, and Bugs Bunny. That's true. But I will eventually watch them. But it's not like WandaVision or The Mandalorian where because they're live action, I'm immediately drawn towards them more. Just at this point.
I would say most of this book is flashback. You don't need to know anything about Rebels to enjoy that because Kanan Jarrus is I forget what his original name is. He takes on the name Kanan Jarrus. He was originally a young Padawan whenever Order 66 happens, and his master is killed, and he has to survive as a Jedi / smuggler / scoundrel. And the flashback parts were, for me, the best part of the book. And I think the present day stuff, I enjoyed parts of it, but I like the past stuff a lot more. And the Pepe Larraz artwork is stunning in this book. And we also didn't mention Giuseppe Camuncoli drew almost all of Charles Vader's. I keep calling Charles Vader. Oh my gosh.
Are you a Star Wars fan or not?
Charles Soule's Darth Vader.
Yeah.
They both were just so good.
Camuncoli is one of my top 5 favorite artists. His Spider-Man work is amazing.
Wait, I'm showing Larraz's art now.
But this is Pepe Larraz before he was uber famous like he is now, because I think he really shot into superstardom when he did House of X, Powers of 10. I can't remember which series that he did. Or I can't remember which one it is. House of X, Powers of 10.
Quite a bit.
So the art in this book is fantastic.
It's a little cartoony.
Well, that's not Pepe Larraz. That's somebody else who did that part.
Oh.
It kind of goes back and forth. Pepe Larraz stuff is all the past stuff.
Right, this stuff?
Right. Like that's just great. I love the way he panels stuff. I love the way he lays out the page. He definitely elevated it for me. I mean, the story was good, but he definitely elevated it a lot more with his excellent layouts.
Yeah.
And so I think this is a really enjoyable book. I think Jess said he got a lot of stuff out of it not watching Rebels. I think you'll enjoy it more if you do have some background. You don't have to watch the whole series, because I haven't, but watching a couple episodes so you at least know who the characters are.
Yeah.
Would be helpful, I think. And then Jess, you read a bunch of other stuff, didn't you?
I read Star Wars Han Solo by Marjorie Liu with art by Mark Brooks.
Isn't the Vader Down crossover in that too? Or there's something that's like it's like there's some overlap with other books, right?
This is Han Solo 1 through 5 and Star Wars 8 through 12.
Yeah, so that would be
the crossover.
Some of the crossover.
I really like this book a lot. I can't. This is one of the first ones I read. Now that I think about it, so my memory isn't as clear on it, but I still dug it. I remember really digging it, but I can't go into why I dug it so much because I read it so long ago. I just remember really digging it. I also read Heroes for a New Hope when it came out.
I love that Lando story by Charles Soule, aka Charles Vader.
Charles Vader.
What if that was Darth Vader's real name? Darth Charles Vader.
He didn't want to tell anybody his name was Charles. He was too embarrassed about it. He knew people would make fun of him.
He's like Charlie Brown, but Vader.
I like the 3 stories in this. I think the the Chewie one was the one that I thought was very good, whereas I thought the other two were better than it, but I still loved all of it.
Princess Leia is Mark Waid and Terry Dodson, if I remember.
Yeah,
correctly.
which is a dream team for me.
I haven't read that book, but both Mark Waid and Terry Dodson are.
Yeah, that's really great.
You should read those, Tyler. Especially the Lando stuff is Alex Maleev, and I love Alex Maleev.
Oh yeah, you do. You love it.
And then I read Shattered Empire and Captain Phasma. Shattered Empire is by Greg Rucka.
That's right after Return of the Jedi, right?
Right.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was. It was Greg Rucka. What are you talking about, man?
She's always a character. She's like, honestly, she's kind of like the Boba Fett of the new films.
Wait, who?
Phasma.
Well, I thought you asked me about Shattered Empire. This is by not Kelly Thompson, but wait, is it Kelly Thompson? It is by Kelly Thompson with art by Marco Cicchetto.
He's fantastic. He did both series, didn't he?
It's really great. And Captain Phasma is really shines in this story as a potential Vader-like character in this. And it's also she has an adventure where they crash on a planet and they have to deal with the locals. She and this pilot that she has who takes off her helmet. And I found this one to be way compelling. And Captain Phasma, I want to see more of Captain Phasma.
Well, that's the thing is like in the new films, it's very clear that they did not have an overall direction that they were going to take. I mean, everybody knows that at this point, that they obviously did not plan out the 3 new films beforehand. They just made them as they went. But everything about the first film, The Force Awakens, set it up so that Phasma was going to be this huge character and have such a big role. And I was so looking forward to it. I mean, her design is awesome, like this cool silver stormtrooper armor. And then they just never did anything with her. And she was such a dud character. And I feel like she has the potential to be a Boba Fett style character, in that like Boba Fett in the original trilogy is super lame. I mean, he doesn't do anything very cool. But then like his legend grew and everybody loved the character because his design was cool. And then they told these cool stories about him. Now he's obviously in recent days shown up in other things, and he's just a great character. So I really would love to see Phasma get the Boba Fett style treatment because her design is cool and her character is interesting.
Yeah, and this book is a good story about her and her behavior to get what she wants as she goes along. And I don't want to spoil it because I think everybody should read it. She's a bit of more of a chameleon than Darth Vader is in her ability to coerce people to get what she wants. But she definitely has the means to an end in her mind. And once she gets what she wants, then she executes her plan and moves on to the next thing with no regard for anybody else except for her plans. So I would love to see more Captain Phasma. And
I doubt it at this point, but who knows?
I
think after The Last Jedi, I think it kind of took the wind out of the sails of that.
I mean, maybe Boba Fett got eaten by a sarlacc.
Yeah.
I mean, anything's possible with enough love and hope. Can you highlight Comic Bound's comment? Because that's beautiful.
Which
his nice pun.
That's a great dad joke, and I love it.
And I read there's 3 hardcovers: Age of Rebellion, Age of Resistance, and Age of Republic. I couldn't get myself to get Age of Resistance because I'm still so mad about Rise of Skywalker. I always tell Tyler and Jess about this huge toy store I take my son into at the mall whenever I walk around the mall sometimes, whenever I watch him. And it's like all sequel trilogy figures. Their Star Wars section is massive. It's almost like entirely sequel trilogy stuff. I'm like, come on, I just want some of this original stuff from the original trilogy. But I only got Age of Rebellion, and it's pretty much an anthology series of focusing on different characters, like Darth Vader. Grand Moff Tarkin gets a story. Han Solo. Here's a Boba Fett story. And with any anthology series, some are really good and some aren't so good. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. I wouldn't say this is essential, but Tyler would like this with Luke Skywalker wrecking shop here.
Oh, dude, I love that. Give me more Luke wrecking shop.
There's some really interesting stories in here. I wouldn't say it's a must read, but I'm happy to have with the rest of my Star Wars hardcovers.
Yeah, I have Age of Rebellion, Age of Resistance, and what's the prequel?
Age of Republic.
I don't have that one, but I think I should probably get it because it is, even though I'm not big on the prequels, it is Star Wars stories, and I think I should get it because it's Star Wars stories.
I'll probably buckle and get the rest of them. I was just mad about the Resistance. I more want to read the Republic stuff than the Resistance stuff at this point, but I might change my mind in a couple of years.
Grudge, like my daughter carries a grudge. You guys are fucking to go.
He just called you a girl. I heard it.
No, but I think the hard thing for me is I was kind of against the grain with really liking the first two. I really liked the first two. I think Force Awakens was a rehash in some ways of A New Hope with the huge planet-destroying machine, but I get why they did that. And having Lawrence Kasdan back helping write the screenplay definitely helped elevate it, which I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed The Last Jedi. That's my favorite of the new Star Wars movies. And seeing them completely undo that in Rise of Skywalker just really upset me. As Jess says, it really griped my cookies. It just really bums me out. And I really wanted to like it. I really did want to like it. I didn't go in wanting to hate it. I think so many people go into Star Wars movies now wanting to hate it, which I don't want to do. And so I was just so bummed out by it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be a hater. I don't want to be negative. That's just how I feel about it. But again, I love Star Wars. I want to keep going forward with all the different stuff that's coming out.
And I also read Star Wars Shattered Empire, which is after Return of the Jedi. And
Does that have Kyle Katarn in it? No, that's Shadows of the Empire. It's a video.
Yeah, this is after the destruction of the second Death Star and into the chaos of the Shattered Empire. It's by Greg Rucka, and it features old characters and new, and I really dug it. It was great. It's Greg Rucka doing Star Wars, so what's not to like? With Chichetto art, it's great. But I do see myself buckling and buying that first Age of, what's it called? Age of Crappiness?
Age of Republic.
Age of Republic. Okay.
You're such a jerk. How dare you? I'm just waiting for Taylor to buy it because the second he buys the last one, they're gonna end up making an omnibus out of it.
Ooh, super chat.
Super chat. Give me my $1.25 for my earnings on this video.
I have to send a check for $2.
$5 split 3 ways.
Jimmy Owens, Star Wars comics are some of my favorites. It really opens up the universe. You should read the Dark Times comic. It's Legends, but it's great.
Ooh.
Thank you, Jimmy Owens. It's rare that I get a super chat, so I really appreciate it.
Ooh, you are the best. I think we got a super chat last time we all three got on here.
I think you might be right.
We're the money makers combined, Jeff.
I'll have to go back and look at my analysis and write you guys your checks for $3 each or whatever they added.
That was super nice of you. And I've really wanted to get into the legend stuff. I know there's some stuff with like one of my friend who I mentioned earlier on in the show who loves the legend stuff talks all the time about Jaina, who's a really cool character supposedly. I'm really interested in that. I think I'm going to continue on with the canon stuff for now, but I do want to go back at some point and read some of that stuff. I'm very excited about the Old Republic omnibus coming out. I will absolutely read that day one, which is I don't know if it's Legends or canon or not, but I'm very excited about it.
Because Tyler was playing KOTOR a month ago, weren't you? Knights of the Old Republic, old game,
and the MMO, the Old Republic, is the Star Wars, which I cannot recommend enough. If you like Star Wars game, it's a free-to-play MMO that is extremely story-driven. It's set in the KOTOR time period where the Sith and the Jedi are basically equal in terms of numbers and factions and fighting.
Back before the rule of 2.
Yeah, before the rule of 2. It's extremely fun. You can play as, I think, 8 different classes, like a smuggler or a Jedi Knight or a Sith Inquisitor.
I would definitely be a Sith.
Assassin.
It was so much fun. I sent Tyler a picture of how I destroy people in Red Dead Redemption. Remember that, Tyler? The guy was probably filled with at least 50 bullet holes.
SFW next time he sends it. It was very graphic. I could barely look at it. My eyes are hurt.
I'll send it to Jess right now.
Okay. Chat OmniDog. I don't think any of us,
Mara J. That was her name.
I don't think any of us have read the Dark Horse. I haven't read any Dark Horse Star Wars stuff. I do have the first 3 Star Wars epics that they just republished, the early Marvel years.
And somebody could win the Marvel UK collection.
But I haven't read that, and I haven't read the Dark Horse stuff or the early Marvel years. So there's a
I haven't read this, but I'm assuming it's just a bunch of people going, "Hey, mate, you want to go fight some Star Wars people, mate?" Because it's the UK collection over and over again.
That's so lame. Whoa, Jimmy!
Whoa.
Big time. Now I owe these guys money.
Dude,
Thank
you are a
you.
mad lad. You are a true mate. You're a mad lad and a true mate.
There are 2 Dark Times Omnis. Here's more money so Tyler can skip the streets tonight.
Man, I am going to skip the streets tonight. My wife's going to be like, "Come to bed." I'm like, "I can't. Jimmy gave money." It's going to be a whole thing. I will say this. People say when Jimmy cracked corn that no one cares. I care, Jimmy. When Jimmy cracked corn, I care. This guy right here.
And that seems like a perfect thing to end this discussion on. Thank you for the super chats. I really appreciate it. Did you shot hearing on the guy when he was down on the ground?
Yeah,
I dead on
I even shot the soles of his feet.
Make sure to never make Taylor mad.
That guy bumped into me. That guy bumped into me. He was so annoying.
So thank you very much to everybody that tuned into this. I appreciate the chat, and I very much appreciate the super chats. Now these guys are going to be hounding me for their split, so thank you very much. I'll have to inform them that YouTube takes like 68% of it for themselves. So that's, and they're laughing, but it's actually true. So we will probably return at some point when we read some more Star Wars. Oh, thank you.
Unbelievable. You guys are all
2,000
of that person's currency. Thank you.
I don't know if there's a way to say Jimmy and this guy are the best memories you've ever had in your chat, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. They're the best memories you've ever had in your chat. And that's including when Taylor's in your chat. Just FYI.
Yeah, I got snuck onto the Omnibros last night because of my comments in the chat.
I really appreciate everybody. Here's a good comment by Justin. Thank you so much for doing this. It gets me so excited about not only Star Wars, but comics every time I see you post new videos. For Star Wars Legends, I love both Death Troopers and Red Harvest.
Ooh.
Red Harvest sounds good.
Well, now I need to get an action figure. I don't know what the Red Harvest action figure looks like, but I know I need it.
Well, I happen to have The Mandalorian coming to me. It was $55 with shipping.
Ooh, he beat you, Tyler.
I beat you by $5, which is what.
But you paid for shipping. How much was shipping? Because mine was 60 flat with no shipping.
Mine was 55 flat, free shipping. It had just gone up.
This is unbelievable. This is literally
Tyler, just flip that GI Joe like you were going to anyway.
I'm not flipping the GI Joe. I'm not a flipper like that. I love that GI Joe. I'm gonna sleep with that GI Joe tonight. I'm gonna throw it down the bathroom.
I can just see it in the packaging between you and Jenny on the pillows.
It'll be great.
Tyler, you don't want to bring up that question again of why did I marry this guy again?
I'll be sleeping on the couch.
We don't want to poke that bear with our wives, Tyler. We don't want them to think too much about why they married us.
That's absolutely true. I don't want anybody thinking about this. Like, yeah, that's true. Ryan asks me that question all the time. How in the world did you get a girl like Jay to marry you?
Yeah, I don't think any of us would have a picture of our wives, or people wouldn't think, man, how did they land her?
Yeah,
I think we all have that probably.
We all outkicked our coverage.
Yeah, that's true. Whatever that means, it's true.
It's a football analogy. If you were more of a football fan, you'd know.
I'm sorry, I'm just cheering for Tom Brady like the rest of America. What can I say?
Tyler has a new favorite team every time he sneezes.
Yeah.
The Chiefs have been my absolute favorite team since they won the Super Bowl last year. I don't know why you're saying that. It's been almost a year I've been a fan of the Chiefs. Okay.
Yeah.
Taylor,
I'm kicking Tyler off this.
wait, I didn't get to say where you could find me.
Okay.
On his
Tyler,
recently revived channel.
I do. You guys can find me at Super Squad D. You can just YouTube Super Squad D. I would love you guys to check it out. It's a channel that I made with a friend of mine, and we do nerd content, and we talk about comics, movies, games, all that fun stuff. If you feel so inclined to go check it out and subscribe, that would be amazing. We put up our first video today in a long time, 2021. We're getting back into the YouTube game. Next up, I have my top 5 favorite books I read last year coming out, as well as we have a really cool video essay on Persona 5 and more coming soon. So,
Well, hopefully your camera quality doesn't look like you're trying to broadcast from like Rwanda or something.
seriously, that was rough in that first one. It was a rough moment. We're looking at the technical difficulties, the bumpy ride, getting back to YouTube. But
Well, I'm really excited for you, mate.
thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Minister, where can they find you and me? Or do you have your own stuff going?
I don't have my stuff going, even though Tyler's really pushing it hard every day in our texting conversations. You can find me on OmniDog's Vault this Saturday on Saturdays in the Batcave, where Jess and I will be talking about our most anticipated collected editions of 2021. But don't worry, there's always tangents. There's always Q&A. So we won't talk about the topic too long. Don't worry.
And Jimmy Owens, good for you. Those are all great books. Those are all really great books. Habibi's really good.
Nice.
Yes, you can catch me, OmniDog, on OmniDog's Vault right here, and on Instagram, OmniDogs_Vault. Thank you for tuning in. The chat was really good tonight. I appreciate everybody that watched this. You guys were really great. And thank you to my co-hosts, and especially, of course, Tyler for showing up for once.
I'm hurt because you called me, as you said, especially because that was nice. You singled me out, but then you said something mean. I don't know how to feel. Was that nice?